Shabbat Shalom, my friends. Our Sedra is Eikev, Deuteronomy 7, verse 12 and following. The Hebrew name for the current month is Av, the second last month of the Jewish year, but very often people refer to this month as Menachem Av. The phrase is hard to translate precisely, but the intention is clear. After the horrors that befell our people on Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, the rest of the month should be dedicated by us to seeing and understanding how much goodness life still contains. Menachem, the word means consolation. And the deepest sorrows of Judaism are to be linked not with permanent despair and eternal mourning, but rather with the ample reasons we yet have to rejoice in our lives. So Menachem La'av thus prepares us for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur by opening our eyes to what we can yet celebrate. These are, in this Sedra and Deuteronomy, these are the last or almost last addresses by Moses to his people before his death. At such a moment, I would want to believe that Moses wouldn't waste his remaining hours on frivolous matters. In flowing, elegant language, Moses reminds his people of all the good that God has done for the Israelites, and reminds them as well that remaining in God's favor is a lifelong task of avoiding the forbidden and embracing the mandate. Thus, Moses weaves together the Deuteronomic obsession that idolatry must be uprooted and destroyed with promises of a land filled with agricultural and mineral richness. This can be fun. Allow yourselves just for a moment to feel what these divine promises are all about. A land of streams and springs and fountains, a land where the 7 species, the typical produce, will be available in endless abundance: wheat, barley, figs, grapes, pomegranates, olives, honey. A land that will forever feel the presence of God's protection. Ample rain, glorious harvest in the appropriate seasons, and a country whose borders will reach from the Euphrates to the Mediterranean. Can you imagine how all of that feels? What a wonderful set of promises. In such a world, what does God really want from us? Got those blessings. A simple question with an obvious answer. This is Deuteronomy after all, right? Avoid idolatry at all costs, of course. But this also is found in Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 1. And now, O Israel, what does the eternal your God demand of you? Only this: to revere the eternal your God, to walk only in divine paths, to love and to serve God with all your heart and soul, to uphold the cause of the fatherless and of the widow, and to befriend the stranger. That's what God wants. Sounds simple. But none of this works if each individual focuses only on their own lives, on their own successes and failures, on their own agonies and ecstasies, on their losses and on their frustrations. Musar literature, the literature defining and describing ethical behavior that comes from 19th century Lithuania, seeks to guide our acts and even our feelings from the largest, most global matters to the most intimate and personal matters. That's where Musar operates best, to help open us up to gratitude. I believe that Musar literature offers a brilliant, profound summary of what our Sedra is saying. That summary simply this: hakarat hatov, recognizing and acknowledging the good that our lives actually do contain. Now, this is going to be much harder. I'm pretty sure that no one has ever asked you to do this before, but here I go. Take a moment, jot down a basic list of the sources of misery in your life. You'll never have to show this list to anyone, I promise. And you should probably rip that list to shreds before this day is over. So what's on it? What's on this list of sources of misery? Personal illness, the loss past or impending of loved ones, the enduring anger of a former spouse or business partner, the lack of meaningful contact or even of any contact with the kids. What else is on the list? Business losses, being fired, the collapse of our profession, failing grades, a sense that whatever we do is meaningless, loneliness, fears that we cannot adequately control, needs that can never be satisfied, dreams that only crash and burn, a progressive disease that has only one possible outcome, debilitating handicaps that rob us of mobility or speech or even of comprehension. These items are real because they are real to us. That's what really matters. Sure, okay, it's possible. Maybe we are among the blessed minority whose list of misery makers is astonishingly short. Great. And maybe we have also a close friendship with Pollyanna. That's good too. Kol hakavod. But most of us will only look at our own list and find reason enough to sink into despair. So how do we get from real misery makers to gratitude? Sedra assumes that's not very difficult. Just acknowledge the rains, the ample harvest, the beauty of our relationships. Gratitude will flood our lives. But I suspect that gratitude is not such an easy trait to nurture, to master. For some people, being grateful to others sometimes means that we are incapable of doing for ourselves all that needs to be done. That is not, trust me, not a good feeling. With a cane in one hand and an armload of groceries in the other, I can't open the door to our lobby of the apartment building by myself. The guard comes over, good person, holds the door open for me. I am so grateful, but I do wish that I could do it for myself and that I didn't need the darn cane. Hakarat hatov, recognizing good things, is actually a discipline that has to be learned like every other discipline. If we can learn to see even the smallest speck of something good in our lives, recognize that little speck, touch it, feel it, and be grateful for it. Even when we feel a sense of deep despair, that we don't give in to a willful blindness that gentle breeze on a very hot day can give us joy, that we never forget to enjoy a gentle breeze. That takes discipline. What about a smile from a stranger? What about a thank you of someone who stumbles and we help keep upright? What about a garden beautifully tended? What about the love of a child? What about the taste of a good meal? What about a hug desperately needed? Small, small things where we can practice gratitude by being open to their importance. God asks a lot in our Sedra. God wants us to see the great and wonderful things that life contains and to be inundated by gratitude. Hakarat HaTov asks us to see the smallest acts of kindness, the tiniest glimpses of beauty, and to learn to feel how wonderful they really are. Appreciation. Small step by small step, not a global achievement. Appreciation for global wonders may come to us someday, but first, step by step, we are called to learn how to feel appreciation for bird song in the morning. Then someday we can meet the expectations that our Sedra sets out. So what do we have? Menachem Av. Av, bringing us consolation. The kind of consolation when we slowly learn to open our hearts to the goodness that is with us even in the most dire of circumstances, despite the darkness. Goodness is there. And we'll learn to say thank you. Shabbat Shalom. Have a great week.